All right. Well, then we are, hopefully you guys are enjoying what we got rocking and rolling here. I'm excited to bring one of the hardest working people in podcasting who is doing an amazing job. Just went through a move and everything crazy going on. He is now a fellow Austinite and a fellow podcaster. He is the founder of Outlier HQ and the main man, of the chief bottle washer at the Outlier Podcast Festival that takes place in different places across the country. Just recently did the first virtual summit after being in Salt Lake City, Austin, and then you got one later in the year too planned as well too. So we are excited to have you, buddy. Ever Gonzalez join us today, everybody, at National Social Media Day. What is going on, man? How you doing?
God, thanks for having me on, man. I'm really excited to be here. This is so I've been tuning in. This is good stuff. Congrats.
Thanks, man. We try to have a good group of people. I'm very blessed that I've got a great network of friends that are giving, including yourself too, as well, man. So thank you for
it feels like here, man. Like we're similar with what we do, right? I bring on a lot of people onto my festivals and the things that we do just because I like hanging out with them. And even if nobody else was watching, I get to learn a ton from these experts. So it's fantastic. And you know, I'm sitting here watching you like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna probably implement that. So it's cool.
Well, and the beautiful thing is 200 plus people are RSVP'd and who knows how many people are watching live. I would be same thing. One-on-one, it's just like a normal conversation most part. Some people got some slides and sharing, but the nuggets aspect. That's the thing about social media more so than anything else. I think you agree to that. Is as Adam just said, there is if you're going to post something, but the engagement side of things, the really asking the questions and then listening, right? Ever, and you're an amazing listener and amazing asker of questions as well too with everything you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's your favorite aspect of social media. You got a platform you love the most. You got a tool, a tactic, a tip that you really you get excited about that you've seen a lot of impact.
You know, it's one of those things. As when you invited me to do this, I was trying to figure out what is that thing for me, right? And I've been racking my brain for the last few days trying to figure out what that is. And and maybe like some of the people that are listening, I have a love-hate relationship with social media, right? Sometimes I like to sit there and just veg out and kind of go through pictures or post for my friends and things like that. But then when it comes to business, I'm trying to figure out what works best for me and for Outlier, right? With what we're trying to accomplish in the podcasting world. And it's been a lot of hit and miss, but what I enjoy the most is when I forget about promoting my own stuff, an episode, when I forget about promoting one of my conferences, festivals, all that stuff, and I focus on the community, that's when it works the best. That's when I get the most engagement. So if I have you as one of my speakers or one of my guests on my own podcast, right, and I'm promoting you, then that's when like everything seems to fall into place. I don't feel weird about promoting myself, which is kind of weird. I have never found that comfortable, right? Here I am, founder of Outlier, look at me, all that stuff. Always felt weird, right? I like to be kind of behind the scenes. But I can promote you and my guest and my speakers all day long, and I'd like to think that I do that pretty well. And then I kind of share them with my community, and that's when we get the most engagement. So I kind of try to take that tactic into Facebook, Twitter, right, Instagram, all that stuff, and then it just kind of comes together. But yeah, I think like a lot of people that are listening here, they're here because they're trying to learn something. I'm still learning the social media stuff, trying to figure out what works best, but when I focus on the people and the community, that's what drives up engagement for sure. And it's been working great so far.
Yeah, I love that. Let's share a little bit about kind of your mission and what you're doing with Outlier HQ, so that gives our audience and people watching this a little bit of an idea of where you're coming from. So what is Outlier HQ and kind of what's your background and focus with everything kind of changing up the last 6 months for you?
Yeah, sure. So the quick pitch here. So we're a media and events company. We started in 2013. I started my podcast, Outlier on Air, December of 2013. Yeah. So we have 400 plus episodes. We talk to a lot of cool people. And at first it was just kind of a side hustle, right? Or just not even a side hustle, a hobby, because I previously sold one of my companies and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next with my life. And I know that I like talking to people and I know that I like business. So I started a show where we talk to entrepreneurs, which is great. Like there's a million of those, but for me, it was more of the fun. We didn't monetize it. We still haven't monetized it, right? 400 plus episodes. who knows how many downloads. We don't worry about that kind of stuff on the podcast. And so from the podcast, we started a co-working space. We started events because we had a co-working space. And so now it's kind of morphed into this cool company, this culture, this community where I kind of bring on cool people that I like, and I build programs or events or live streams or podcasts around them. And again, it feels like it's more for me than for anybody else. And so I get the benefit of learning from these experts. But yeah, the media and events company. So we host 3 festivals a year up until obviously earlier this year because of the pandemic. We pick 3 different cities all over the U.S. and we go and we host these podcast festivals. We have about usually 2.5 days of speakers talking about how to grow your podcast, how to start it, how to monetize, how to build a network, those type of things. And I bring in some of the best of the best, right? We find the outliers, those that are talented that maybe aren't as well known in the industry yet, and we invite them to our shows, and we have a good time. You've been to our virtual one, and then because of the pandemic, we had to kind of switch a little bit, and we went online with it, which was great. We got a lot of cool people from all over the world to attend, but we missed that face-to-face interaction. And so once this is all over, we kind of scratched 2020, and we're hoping for 2021 to be able to kind of do this face-to-face. But we had one earlier where you were a big part of it. Not only did you help because you spoke, but you helped with the technical stuff too, behind the scenes with stuff like this, which was amazing. You kind of went above and beyond, and I really appreciate that. You took a call from me on Saturday to help me with some of the tech questions. So you were great.
Hey, I got even some more stuff I've discovered in the last 24 hours. I was like hitting myself in the head. I like walked out last night. I was like, oh my God, I just discovered a couple more things. Oh, how to use some of these things to market and brand it. So nice. You and I are going to have another phone call when we're done.
Let's do it.
All right.
I'm in. And so this last one, we were supposed to be in Columbus, Ohio in May. Obviously that's when it all kind of hit. So we canceled it, went virtual. We're going to go virtual again in September. And so our whole thing is to build the community around podcasting and entrepreneurship. And so far, 6 years into it, 7 years into it, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. You mentioned a great thing about how you love interviewing outliers. And I think outliers these days are on the same type of footing as your huge people that have an audience, the Gary V's, the Heather Mahanians, the Seth Godins, the well-known names. You can really build a brand, whether you're starting brand new, you're making a pivot, changing things, starting a new career, or you've been affected by the pandemic and lost your job or your business is closed and trying to figure a way to do that. What would be your best advice or counsel for somebody who's an outlier out there who's going through a transition right now? Some of the things that they could probably do to help get the word out, because you're a great implementer getting the word out and building these festivals. What's the thing you would advise to those out there that are struggling right now?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, don't try to be the next Gary Vee. Don't try to be the next, whoever, Cardone or whatever his name is. Just be who you are and play to your strengths. That would be my thing. Find out what your strengths are, what your talents are, and leverage them, right? Some people are good at being silly and crazy or having great ideas and putting it out there. But they're bad on the business side, or vice versa. They're good on the business side, but maybe are a little bit dry and not so good at, getting all the attention towards them. So outsource what you can do or don't want to do, but kind of double down on what it is that you are good at, and then let the world know via social media, right? We can compete with the Gary V's and those kind of guys if we're ourselves, because there's always going to be an audience for whatever you do, right? I mean, I think we talked about it when you were on my show. Any topic in the world, there is a podcast about it. There's a website, a blog about it, a social media account about it. So you're going to be able to find and I hate this word because it's overused, but your tribe or your community, no matter what it is that you're into. And so if that's what you're into and that's what you're good at, man, shout it from the rooftops and put it out there. And then you're going to be able to find those like-minded individuals, right? We like outliers that are doing things a little bit different, whether in business or in life. And because I feel like that's the vibe that we're putting out there, because we're doing the same thing. And so we attract those people. And it's not because I'm a great marketer or even great on social media or any of that stuff. It's just because, as corny as it sounds, it's because of the vibe that I'm putting out there. And so the frequency, it's kind of attracting other people to it. And so if you can kind of leverage that into social media posts, social media engagement, videos, whatever it is, then do it. Your previous guest was talking about TikTok, and you're like, man, I don't want to figure this out. Dude, I'm 44. I'm not going to go on TikTok right now, right? I'm going to leverage what I have. I'm going to leverage Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Those are the three that I focus on the most. Everything else, it's going to be great. I'm sure there's going to be another TikTok-like type of social media platform that comes out. Cool. Go, man. If you can do it, do it. I'm not saying don't do it, but for me and what I'm trying to build, I'm not going to waste my time on it. First of all, I can't dance. Second of all, right, it's my community isn't there, right? They're not there. So I'm going to go where they are. And they are, first of all, live, right, in these events that I have face-to-face. But then they're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And so that's where I spend most of my time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, knowing where your audience and avatar, your listeners are at. Here's the thing, too, is if you've got – I love the fact that you said, hey, if there's a podcast, there's a group or something like that to start building, connecting with other people. And if there's not one, it's so easy to start one.
Yeah.
You know, even like if we're starting local meetup groups, they'll start identifying and pushing people towards your meetup group if you just throw one out there. And all you need to start a meetup group is 5 people to start one and start connecting. Now, meetup doesn't ding you if you are virtual like they used to, which is a beautiful thing. But that's how you kind of build that community and growing, you know, the people that think the same, that are the outliers like you in your niches, or have value, have the same interest, but you can leverage their values. Maybe they're better technical and you're better in front of the camera, and vice versa, and leverage that across the board, right, Ever?
And how wonderful is it that, you know, if you and I were kind of in our prime doing what we're doing 50 years ago, we wouldn't be able to kind of get through the gatekeepers, right? The big networks, the radio stations, all those places that kind of build you up to be who you are, right? And we've seen this throughout history. Now, a kid opening up toys, right, and talking about what he likes and what he doesn't like about these toys is a multimillionaire because he's doing what he likes and people enjoy it and other kids love it. So, yeah, anybody, a meetup group, right, Facebook, right, a lot of these stuff, a lot of it is free. It's just a matter of you kind of being true to yourself and playing your strengths and getting that out there. But you got to be consistent as well, right? In the 6 years that we've been doing this, 6-7 years that we've been doing this, right? Because this is for a long time, up until a few months ago, almost a year ago, this wasn't my full-time gig, right? This was fun and I put a lot of time and effort into it, but it wasn't my full-time gig. And so I wasn't as consistent with the posting and releasing episodes on time and things like that. First of all, because I didn't have any sponsors, and we don't want any sponsors. We still don't have sponsors when it comes to our podcast, so we can kind of do what we wanted, right? But now that I've kind of focused on what we want to do, and we see the bigger picture, I want to be able to be consistent to kind of grow my base and our community. And so we're going to continue to do that from now on, and we're excited about it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And you're staying true, being who you guys are without outside influence on a variety of things. Now, not that all sponsors are outside influence, but it's still, you've got to kind of be accountable to them to make.
Yeah. And we do have sponsors for our festivals, and they're, you know, I consider them partners more than sponsors. And they've been great. It's for whatever reason, I wanted to stay. And this is going to sound ridiculous because my wife calls me a filthy capitalist with a hippie heart, right? I like making money. I like making money for other people, but I still kind of give a lot of stuff away. Anyway, I want to stay as indie as possible when it comes to my podcast, whether it's right or wrong, whatever. It works for me, right? I don't want an outside influence with my show on the guests that I have, on the things that I say and can't say. The festival is a little bit different story. Right? It's a bigger operation. And so we bring on our partners, and so far so good. I mean, we haven't had any issues with any of our sponsors throughout the years.
What's one of the things that you see attendees or sponsors really kind of screwing up on or not taking advantage of in a variety of things? Because I love what you do, and I've got a bit of an idea, but I want to hear what you say, because you've put some different ones, and you've done so many events. You know, events not, and you're an event and media company. and you make it really easy for a lot of people to be able to dive in and connect with a lot of people. But do you see a lot of that after interaction not happening, taking place in some cases with people, or what?
Yeah, most of our events, and you know, as an event coordinator, maybe I shouldn't be saying this because it's kind of weird. Then I won't have a job. But as cool as the stuff is that I'm putting up on stage, the content, the speakers, all that stuff that's being kind of taught from our stages throughout the U.S. That's fantastic. But it's the one-on-ones, it's the hallway conversations, right? It's the meeting in the corner while the event's going on that kind of brings the best value to all of our attendees, right? Again, it's cool to have you on stage, but it's the two guys or two gals in the back that are talking about business or how they can collaborate or help each other that really makes Outlier what it is, right? They're not, as much as they like the speakers, they're not a year from now going to be talking about that great talk, although they might, that they heard at the Outlier Podcast Festival, but they are going to be talking about the cool people that they met. And so when we're face to face, one of the things that I tell my speakers is, hey, listen, you guys can't come and do your thing from stage and be professional and do all of the things that you are best at. But we don't want you to come in for an hour and then take off, right? We want you to stay for most of the day, interact with the attendees, right? With other speakers, with our sponsors. And I think that's what, and I know other people are doing it too, but that really is what sets us apart. It's the speakers, right? That keynote speaker that's hanging out in the back room, talking to everybody and spending most of the day just chit chatting with those that attend. I think it's well worth the price of admission for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then that's that one-on-one conversation, and that doesn't have to go away in a virtual event too. You've done a great job of making sure and pulling social media profiles and handles so people can reach out to the speakers. Like I was trying to make it the Salt Lake event, but was unable to make it out there. But I was still able to connect with.
That's awesome.
75% of the speakers through their social media, but saying, "Hey, I see you're speaking at Outlier. It's great. I'm not going to be able to make it, but we still love the conversation." Several of them are going to be guests on Wednesday night podcasts. Still going to be talking with them, and you know, or they've like, "Oh, hey, here's a link to my presentation that you missed." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." You know, and
it works, right? I mean, and just when you were a speaker for our virtual event in May, obviously we sent out the survey afterward. Your participation, not just your talk, but your overall participation was highlighted by a lot of the people that attended. They were like, Scott Carson. And so people are either connecting with you or know who you are and are following on social media. So that's a way to kind of have an impact on your personal brand or on your business. And that goes a long way for me, right? If I know that you as a speaker were able to connect with our audience, awesome, because it works both ways, right?
It does totally work both ways, and that's why it's so important to connect with your speakers. You're connecting with the people, whether it's virtually or in person. Taking the time. One of the things I love doing for people, I did this on a couple virtual events aboard. I actually took screenshots of the person speaking on the screen and then sent it to them and said, "Hey, I know we all as speakers like to promote ourselves." Nice. And you probably didn't have time to do a screenshot of you speaking, but here you go. And they're like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And that's just a little bit extra bonus to really build start that one-on-one conversation,
And again, the selfish part of me is because I've been able to build this platform. And in the beginning, obviously, I didn't know anything about, first of all, I didn't know anything about co-working spaces, but we started one. I didn't know anything about podcasting, but we started it. I certainly didn't know anything about putting on an event, but we've learned throughout the years what works and what doesn't work. And, we don't have the fancy lights, the banners, the stuff. We like to keep it small. We cap it at about 200, 250 attendees when it's face to face, and all we have is an Outlier flag in the backdrop behind the stage. Right? We don't cover anything else because we want the interaction to kind of take center stage. And again, because I'm selfish, I like to have these cool people that I truly want to have a personal relationship with. So those are the people that I invite to speak at my events. And then I get to hang out with them afterward. And then many of them I become friends with. I become friends with you because of what we're doing with Outlier and because of what you're doing. And that just helps me, my brand. It helps me personally, professionally, and I would continue to do it. And then we kind of where it all comes kind of together is the social media aspect. That's where I find my speakers. That's where I find my next guest. That's where I find all that good stuff. And then on the flip side, then I'm able to promote you because you were on my show. I'm able to promote that you were on my one of my speakers, and then just kind of, it's human engagement that drives traffic up, right? I mean, as cool as puppies and cats are and all that stuff, that it goes away quick. You look at it, you smile, okay, next one. But it's the Scott story that people are going to engage with, right? It's the other speakers that we have and other podcasters that we have. People are going to engage with. And if you're not in the meeting events company, that's great. Have them interact with you, right? Those of you that are listening, what's your story, right? Why should people care? I bet you that you have a story that's unique. You have a voice that's unique. Put it out there, right? If I don't care what it is, I don't care what you're trying to sell. I don't care what it is, the company culture. If you are unique, or if you are true to yourself, people are going to find you. People are going to like you. And so I encourage those of you that are listening to, right? It doesn't cost much to be yourself. It doesn't cost much to talk about things that you're passionate about, because it's going to show. We can't fake it. Audiences today are way too savvy, right? And so we can spot a poser from a mile away for the most part, right? And so, man, don't try to be Gary Vee. Be yourself. And that's how you're going to grow your engagement. And I think you and I have talked about this many, many times. I would rather have 500 people engaged with who I am and what I do than have 5 million people that are just like, about my stuff, right? Because it's those 500 people that are going to help grow my business, that are going to buy my products, that are going to come to my events, all those things. And so, again, don't worry about the numbers, because it gets very tempting to say, I want 1 million followers. I want this and this. Dude, have people that engage with you and your stories and your products.
Yeah. You've got, and you mentioned 500 because you've got your Outlier HQ group is a very interactive, 507, I think, members of it.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing, because it's people don't get lost in it. When they communicate, and when you get these larger groups, but we all, podcast movement, what Jared has done with podcast movement is phenomenal. 38,000 members, very interactive. Sure. But you get lost, especially in a lot of the feeds. It's hard to stay up with that. Whereas in a smaller group, well, not small group, I was 25, but a mid-sized group is where you can still have an impact. Your voice can still be heard without being just bulldozed over by all the comments and things like that, right?
Yeah, and it's, as you mentioned, right? When you see people post on there or comment on there, you're like, I know exactly who that is. I know who they are. I know what they're about. And, we like to kind of help each other. And so, yeah, again, me, if I was going to try to run a huge multi-million-dollar company, I would do it different than what I'm doing. But that's not my goal, right? And if that's your goal, those of you that are listening, I'm sure there are other speakers on this, on today's show that are going to be able to help you do that. For me, I want smaller, intimate, more engaged, more, I'm all in with most of the guests that are on my podcast. I'm all in with most of the people that come speak on my shows, because they're good people and they have good products and good services. And overall, I like their creative juices and all that stuff. And so those are the people that kind of stick around, and I love that. I'm okay with that. Again, it doesn't take much to build a great community, whether it's 25, 500 or larger than that. It's just a matter of you kind of taking the lead and being who you are.
Well, the big thing that pops in my mind when you talk about that is every forest fire starts with a spark. Every blaze starts with a single light, and you've, as I've heard the word kindle, Aslan, we all need kindling to help that. And you've got to be that spark to share, because if you don't, who else is going to share what you're talking about?
Agreed.
And, the time to take action is now. There's never been a better time to take action on what you're passionate about, what you want to share with your tribe or to build a tribe than today. It's literally a revolution taking place. When I think about all the different things that you and I both have going on, what's one tool or software or app that helps you with your marketing more than anything else that you're like, oh, thank God I've got this? Or maybe your team uses it.
Yeah, it's as simple as my iPhone, and I can't remember what it's called. I think it's To-Do or To-Do List or something like that. It's reminders. I forget. that, oh shoot, maybe I should engage a little bit more, or hey, I need to reach out to this person again. And so I know that there are fancier apps out there that can help you with that. But for me and my marketing and the things that I'm doing, it's a calendar. It's a calendar reminder for sure that helps me. And again, it's not sexy, right? To talk about that, but it's what helps me the most.
Yeah.
And it's been keeping me consistent. Other than this move, right? We just moved last week from Utah to Austin, like you mentioned. I've been a little off, but other than that, we've been pretty consistent throughout because of this stupid little app or thing that helps me on my iPhone.
It's not stupid, but it helps you, man.
That's right. I was just hoping to come up with something sexier and stuff, but overall, this is what helps me the most.
That it's the simplest tools: Google Spreadsheets, a reminder, Canva, Buffer to begin with is probably the most complicated one we've talked about so far, and it's still a very simple tool so far for everybody.
If you want, I'll throw out another one that I've been using, Airtable. When it helps me with my events and when it comes to scheduling social media post, Airtable, again, airtable.com they have a free version and a premium version. And so if that's something that you're interested in to kind of keep everything together, it helps. Oh,
so is it like a buffer, or is it just a kind of just a scheduling?
More of a scheduling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Put that in the chats there.
I've used Buffer in the past, and Buffer's been great. Yeah. Although I heard that when you're scheduling your social media posts, and maybe somebody that is a little bit more expert on this can talk about this. I thought that it hurt your because of the algorithm, it hurts how many people see it if it's scheduled through a third party. But that's what I heard. I didn't do any research on it, but Buffer has been great in the past for us.
Well, and I'm using Buffer today because I don't have the time to go post on everything, but I had everything set up 2 days ago to go out automatically throughout with the promotion aspect of things.
And it looks great, by the way. Congrats.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, man. But that's the thing. I'd rather get it out, and those that see it, that are going to see it. We all know the algorithms are gamified against us for the most part across most platforms, but getting something out is better than not getting something out at all. Right. Sharing something, a simple reminder, whatever that tool is that you have to use, Airtable, Buffer, Google Sheets, to-do lists, your wife nagging at your husband nagging at you. Don't forget. Right.
Whatever works for you.
Exactly. What's the thing? You've been in Austin for just a little while now, and I've already seen you've been out.
I've been here a week. Yeah.
Best place you've eaten at so far? Is it all? Have you had a chance to get out and dine of any fine Austin establishment?
I have. Yeah, we picked up at Rudy's. Rudy's good, good barbecue stuff. I'm a big fan, and I'm going to be exploring all the cool different restaurants that are out here. I came from St. George, Utah, a small city in southern Utah. Great place. Restaurants were lacking, right, in diversity, and so we're excited to be here in Austin with all the great options in food.
Well, you're definitely going to go for some longer walks to work off all that barbecue.
I'm all right with that.
Same here, man. Well, Ever, what's the best way for people to connect with you, to follow up with, to see what you're doing, and kind of connect with you online and find out more about Outlier Podcast Festival or Outlier HQ? Yeah,
everywhere. Go to outlierhq.com, outlierhq.com. That's where you can find most of our stuff. But on social media channels, Outlier HQ. Again, we're keeping it pretty simple. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Outlier HQ. Feel free to connect. We're pretty responsive when it comes to DMs and emails. You can email me directly, ever@outlierhq.com.
Awesome, man. Well, congrats on the move. Thank you for coming up and showing up on International Social Media Day 2020 and delivering some goodies there for everybody out there.
Hey, so far so good. Congrats on everything you're doing, Scott.
Thanks, man. Let's hope Zoom just keeps cranking out on everything. That's the only thing that could go wrong if Zoom gives us an issue. And if that's the case, then we're going to Facebook Live straight from cell phone.
I love it.
Thanks, brother. We'll see you later. All right. We'll get together for a meal soon.
Absolutely. We'll see you later.